two, one. Hello, everyone. Hello. This is your boy Des the King, and I'm back with another episode of King Talk TV. I rebooted the series, and we're starting. This is now episode two. You can check out episode one I did with my Orthodox brothers in church. The title of that is "What Does It Mean to Be Black and Orthodox?" I'll have that link in the description below. And that was a good show, so please check that out. Today is episode two, like I just said before. I have my friend, this man introduced me into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and known him for years now. I think about 6 years now, because I think that's when I started Jiu-Jitsu. It was about 6 years ago, and he introduced me to the world. It's been a long time since we actually had a conversation, and it's crazy that this is going to be our conversation today. But today we're going to talk about Jiu-Jitsu, obviously, for a little bit. But then after that, we're going to get a little philosophical. We're going to get a little historical, I guess, as well. And we're going to talk about his worldview, which is agnostic. He identifies as more on the agnostic side of the spectrum here. I am a Christian, Orthodox Christian, and this is just a conversation between two old friends. We're just trying to learn from each other, trying to understand each other, and be mature. It's not a debate or anything like that. But I'm looking forward to the conversation. I'm looking forward to see how he thinks and to see where this conversation goes. And I hope you guys enjoy this. Leave a comment below, like and subscribe, and let's get started. So, Ray, how you doing today?
I'm doing amazing, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for agreeing to spend an hour or so at least this evening talking about this type of stuff. I enjoy talking about philosophy, religion, and I love to hear other people's thoughts on the world and how they view things. So
hmm
yeah, without going too far into that, let's first talk about you and your life, your background, and what ultimately got you in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh man. Let's see. I guess my story goes all the way back. As a kid, you know, we all wanted to be ninjas. I say that every boy who is Gen X, right, grew up in the 80s. You could do all kinds of different things, right, in your job wise. What do you want to be when you grow up? This, but you also had to be ninja, right? And had to have that in your resume, if you will, right? Super spy ninja or something like that with it. And, so it started with that. And, I had a love of martial arts from seeing, from doing those things as a kid and watching those movies from that early time, the early heroes of that. And then I got exposed to jujitsu through that little event called, the Ultimate Fighting Championship one, that was held up in Denver. And I've told that story plenty of times with it, seeing that the first time. And then I got away from doing martial arts because I got into uh, music, cars, and girls, as a teenager. And then as I got older, had my own kids and decided I needed to come back to something, especially having daughters myself, and they weren't the biggest, they weren't the strongest, and, had concerns about what was going to happen to them. And so, that kind of started down the pathway. And it was like, okay, well, am I going to be going back to the stuff I did before with the punching and the kicking and all the jumping and everything like that? And it was like, nope, couldn't do that anymore. And even as a kid, even though I had done that type of stuff, I wasn't always the biggest. I was usually the smallest kid in the class. And so there was still a level of fear that was there in the times that I did have to try to defend myself. And so I wanted to shed all that with my own kids. And that took me down the pathway of doing Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and having that focus and that self-defense in first and, just dealing in that one with it. Um, that passion then turned into a business and started teaching in 2013. And so now we're coming up on what, 13 years, that I've been running. And I switched over to teaching exclusively 3 years ago, almost with it, when I said I retired from from my other career that I did for almost 25 years. And so now that's all I do. I teach jujitsu all the time, 7 days a week, pretty much with it. Private lessons, group lessons. I just recently did a security training for a local hotel resort. Um, because we deal in the stuff all the way into handcuffing and controlling the body without doing a lot of damage and putting pressure on. Um, and because of the organization I'm tied to with it, I get to learn and work on things that are all exclusive to that with it. And now we're even crossing into the realm of where we're hitting medical level self-defense with it, which is even even more dicey with it when you talk about what goes on with it, because you can do a lot of things as a individual, but depending upon the organization you're tied to, professional factors with it, you get less and less that you can do. There's more rules and regulations. So yeah, so
Man, that's really. I'm sorry,
that's
I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh no, 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 it's good, it's good, it's good. But yeah, that's kind of the gist. I teach all the time and I love what I do. The biggest thing is, more than anything, I like to see changes in people. I say we run a confidence factory that's disguised as a jujitsu academy. So that's what we do, man. Kids to adults, we do it all. So mhm.
That is awesome, man. Jujitsu. You said confidence factory, and that
Yes.
to sum it up, that's exactly what jujitsu did for me. There's nothing like walking into a room and being sure that you can beat most people in there.
You go in
I'll
and you
be
say, interesting.
I by default go into a room and size everybody up.
You come
I'll be
into
joking.
you come in with a different awareness, a different air about you with it.
Mhm.
That's the thing. Like you say, a different level of confidence for it. You enter the room and you feel different.
Yeah,
That's the nice part. So,
yeah, and not to mention the strenuous exercise that you get from rolling. That's probably the I think maybe the best exercise that a person can get is wrestling around with another grown man. I mean, I know that sounds weird, but but
no,
trust me.
it's I
Well,
feel you. I
there are
feel
people out here who listening to this and be like, "What wrestling with a man?" Well, I mean, but you just don't understand once you got to get in there.
yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had that conversation before with it where we say, okay, well, yeah, I got good cardio, but have you done jujitsu before? And it's like, well,
Yeah.
I can run a really long way. Yeah, but have you done jujitsu? And it's a totally different cardio for it. It's a totally different stamina game for it, being able to do that with it. And so, you know, it's always that great piece with it. But it also becomes mentally stimulating. For me, that's the biggest piece is, I get to do that and it's okay, the problem is constantly changing, and so I have to work around the problem for it. And so, you know,
Yeah.
why not? Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. It's and we're gonna talk about this in a while. I want to know what made you stay with jujitsu. I had a lot of just personally a lot of bumps in the road. I'm a natural just competitive guy. I walked into jiu-jitsu. I was with you for a while, but I ended up going to another gym who and I won't bring their names up
Oh
now.
no, it's okay. It's okay.
But,
It's okay.
but I went there and got into the competition side of jiu-jitsu, which is
Hmm.
different than the self-defense side, which is
Yeah.
mainly the
Hmm.
area that you operate in, which is great, still great. But
Hmm.
I got hurt a lot
Hmm.
training that hard, rolling around. So a lot of risk to it, and a lot of people give up when they get hurt. They're like, okay, I don't want any of this here. This is
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
tried it, I got hurt, I don't like it, quit. So talk about because I'm sure you had some ups and downs in your jiu-jitsu journey.
Mhm.
What made you stick with it and not give up?
It was, I mean, for the bumps that I did have with it, at one point I had to have the knee surgery. And that was because I got injured at somebody else's place, you know. When that happened, and that prompted me to have my ACL repaired and my meniscus repaired, and that was a year-long process on the recovery with it, between the prehab, the rehab, everything like that to come back up to it. But the the big piece at the beginning was always it was like, okay, what's my benefit versus what I'm doing with it, cost and benefit factors with it. And I was taking more from it than I had to give with it. You know, I say, there's a lot of value in the time that you put into there with it. It's one of the most valuable pieces we have, right? It's finite. But being able to train and teach and benefit other people, right? I took so much more from the value wise for, the bumps, the bruises, the slight twists, and I didn't have that many realistically compared to a lot of folks with it. I mean, you're an example with it, but there's a few other cats who are out there who have had way more injuries than I have, at a younger age. I'm in my mid 40s and, I've come out okay. I mean, come on. I don't even have cauliflower ear, you know?
Bro, my cauliflower is ridiculous,
Yeah.
and it makes me look way tougher than I actually am.
Yeah. So,
Please continue, bro.
yeah, and so that's that, and I mean that's even that's a small thing with it, and being able to train, I've been training for better than the 13 years, close to almost 15 years with it since I first started, and I don't have cauliflower ear. So some people are just like they look at the ears and they go, "What? You've been doing it how long? What? How is that?" Is I take it easy with it. I'm playing games with you the whole time. We rolled a couple times. It's been a while. It's been a while,
Wow.
but just playing the games a little bit differently, and just that's how it goes. You know, so
Yeah.
that's I'm always thinking about as I'm rolling with somebody, and when I let my class roll and everything like that with it, we say, hey, number one, here's the first conversation you're going to have. What level are you going to be playing in? What intensity are you playing in with it? Whoever has the lowest number wins. Because sometimes people go in, they're like, okay, I want to roll light, but that's a very wide, right, description. This one's saying, well, I am rolling light. And it's like, no, you're not, right? And well, that is light. Oof, So I try to lay it out where it's a little more clear. It's like, okay, here's the objectives that are here with it when you're on this one with it. If you're going to this level here, we're at this one. And then at level 3, I tell the class to say, hey, this is where we're trying to kill each other like civilized people, you know. But little nod to the Princess Bride with it. But everybody gets a good little laugh out of it because it's still the number one. I say the number one concern is the safety of your partner, right? And then your safety is 1.1. They're almost on par to each other with it, right? It's supportive of each other because if you're rolling hard enough to injure somebody all the time because you just want to have the win, it's like, okay, well, if that person gets hurt, it sucks that they get hurt, but then that's one less partner I have, you know? And if they're out for 6, 8 weeks with it, what does that turn into? Their habit is broken. Um, and then they're having to analyze, okay, was that worth the loss that I took on it? What else did I lose in the rest of my life, as we balance, you know, between everything. So, that the I've merely been able to stay because I played it so safe. I've done it well with it, you know, and been able to roll with some people who roll pretty hard, but being able to get them into my lane and slow them down and put them in the speed I want them in, and it works out well, you know. So I would say that'd be my thing with it, and I just love doing it, Keep coming back to it, You get the rewards, not just for myself, but for other people. And that's what
Mm.
I think that's my bigger piece. I benefit other people. Other people like to come. Other people like to enjoy. I love teaching people, and when I see that pathway where they go from, like I said, the confidence factory here to that, and they grow, that's that's the greatest reward right there, you know, to see that go. So,
Awesome, man. And yeah, you were sound like you were talking about me a little bit. Not the fact that I take it easy, but the fact that I'm always 100% when I'm out there for the most part, man. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I mean, I'm really not. It's just, I mean, I'm a purple belt now, and probably maybe will be a brown belt in a year or so. And I still kind of have a mentality like, man, I just need to just go or whatever. I'm not sure what that is, and it got a little better. I don't, like I said, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I just
Yeah.
go, man. I just go, and when I do competitions, I think it kind of helps me have an edge in competition if I'm always having that edge. But that's not the best way. Like your way is the better way. Your way is
I,
just to have fun.
hey, the way I do it is just the way I do it. I always say, how long do I want to go? What if I can, if I'm blessed enough to get to the age of to do like my grandfather and my grandmother, right? And get all the way into my 80s or 90 years old, right? And like even at 90 years old, my grandfather would do walks at the mall or, do a walk around the block during the summer, things like that, do yard work, everything like that. If I could still do basic level jujitsu, if I could say, hey, go ahead, climb on top. Now try and choke me, right? And then I can survive that for 30 seconds and then say, okay, I'm done, right? And you didn't choke me, I win
At 80 years old, right?
at 80, 90 years old.
Oh yeah, yeah. You definitely winning. You
At
winning in
80,
life.
90 years old, if I could do it with just that against somebody who's younger, stronger, more athletic, in the prime and still be able to survive there, that's my win with it, and I'm not, and understand, uh, I don't down talk anybody who's on the sportive end with it, and likes to go hard with it. It's a good avenue to go for it.
Right.
It's just, where do you take your benefit from? I did that. I did more of the competitive stuff when I was a kid, and it's like, okay, and then, you know, even before you have had students that I did prep for competition, got podium finish their first times, you know, and did that right away with it, and it was like, okay, that's cool, and it's enjoyable, and I still leave it as an option for people, but I say, hey, if you want to do it with me, you want to do it with us, you want to do it with in our house with it, this is what it looks like, and it's harder than most people are willing to commit to, because it's like, okay, if I got to put in like that with it, and you want me to back you on there with it, yeah, this is what it takes. So, you know.
No, that's cool, man. I remember being there, and you told me, oh well, no, white belts can't roll till they get two strikes. I was like, what? You can't roll? What do you mean? What am I doing here?
Yeah, yeah,
I understood.
but
I
I
understand now.
remember, huh?
I mean, I understand now. Like I really, really understand.
Now that you encountered the spicy white belt.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely understand now. I mean, it's just people just don't know what they don't know. Like, because me being like I said, purple belt now, we get white belts all the time. And like you said, you get the spazzy white, but they don't know their bodies. They don't know how you could just hurt yourself. You know what I mean? Just
Mhm.
being reckless out there. So and yeah, I didn't think I hurt myself being reckless, but the first time I hurt myself, but you can, man, because you don't know how risky it can be. And jiu-jitsu is one of the lower risky things I think you could do,
Oh yeah.
if you do it right.
Oh yeah.
But you can't hurt yourself. So
Yeah, yeah. No, no. Joe Rogan said it. I think it was Joe Rogan who said it with it. It's one of the only martial arts that you can do at full speed and
all the time.
still maintain safety. Still
Right.
maintain some safety with it, you know.
Yeah.
And I might be wrong on quoting Joe Rogan for it, but it's a good example. It's like, yeah, you can go at a high intensity with it and it's still okay. You can go full speed. You can put some pressure on it. The windows are there to say, okay, there it is. You won. You got it. It's there,
Yep.
you know,
Yep. Yep.
where you
And then
can,
when crap does hit the fan, you just tap out.
yeah,
And that's it.
yeah. If you could put yourself aside to it and say, yeah, you won, you
Yeah.
know,
And then that's it. So that's a good thing about jiu-jitsu.
yeah,
Thank you for that. You already alluded to this. You're a teacher. You've been teaching pretty much your whole, almost, I would say maybe your whole jiu-jitsu career, you've been instructing people, and you love to see the confidence boost in your students. You love to see
Mhm.
them get better in jiu-jitsu. That's great because that's what we're here. But also cultivating attributes that can make them better people just in the outside world
Yeah.
of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So just from the teacher's perspective, you've done thousands of classes, one-on-one instructions, and you also worked with other teachers as well. In your opinion, what do you think makes someone a good teacher in jiu-jitsu?
Mm. For so for me, the idea of a teacher is in not just jujitsu, in anything,
Mm,
right? Is to try to understand your student, right? Because I can show you a lot of the pieces with it, but then the next level of it is seeing, okay, what do I have to change for you? You know? So in the cases of if it's someone who is smaller, maybe it's just how you understand it, you know, and getting an action that I need to make happen with it. Beyond the jujitsu end with it, I was teaching people in my previous industry all the time. I was teaching other installers to do professional work, everything like that. And that was a combination of design, fabrication, electrical engineering, um, you know, gosh, what else did we do? Um, Understanding how certain things worked in that method with it and then just standards and practices with it. So I was already teaching and I was teaching in that area with it before I ever started teaching jujitsu. And then when I went through my whole process of becoming an instructor and getting certified underneath Grace University, that was kind of like the beginning of the refining process, right? And so that was that first level with it. And then just as time has gone on, I just refine more and more and more, right? So I can streamline that process. And then sometimes just by feel, sometimes by watching. I've noticed I've got a real quirk now for looking at how people's bodies move, just in general, like the way people walk, the way people will adjust things when they're locked up into a position. I'll see something and say, hey, change that. And then yeah, move your shoulder up this way with it. And they do it. And then now they're able to do it more effectively. And it's like, okay, what do you feel there? That feels like a better contact. I feel in more control right there just by moving the shoulder 2 inches in one direction, right? And understanding those pieces. So yeah, just, a great instructor, a good instructor can show you a technique and do the technique. I think a better instructor can show you how you can pull it off in all the different ways that you can pull it off with it and adapting for what your body does, you know, because flexibility is not the same for everybody. If you have somebody who has previous injuries, I've got a couple guys right now, they're holding off shoulder surgeries because if they do the shoulder surgery, they're like, yeah, you may
all
not
the
do
time.
jujitsu at all with it. And they're like, okay, I'm balancing between the two. If I have to go through that whole recovery process with it, I'm not going to be able to do jujitsu. And they're choosing not to, they're choosing to just wait and work that joint the best they possibly can to make it as strong as they possibly can before absolutely having to do any type of reconstruction or anything like that with it. And it's not even injury from jujitsu, it's from other stuff. So, and being able to work that and say, okay, working within this lens to say, okay, this person is smaller, this shoulder doesn't work this way. What do I have to change to make this thing effective for you? You know, be the troubleshooter, then guide the person so they can start thinking the same way. How do I adapt it for me? If I can't get my arm to come up here, great. Can I do it? What if my arm comes straight out? Well, that changes everything. Sometimes that changes it. The difference of the elbow up going out versus this, or turning out versus coming up, right? Using those elements with it and just troubleshooting that and saying, okay, now try it this way. How does that feel? Does that feel strong now? Okay, good. And we go from there. So
Mm.
I think that adaptation, overall, just as an instructor. And sometimes it's just even that same adaptation even transfers all the way down to kids. Every kid's not the same. You got nephews and nieces, right? You know,
Yeah, I do.
right?
Yeah,
And each one, right? Each one you could take them and show them the same thing, but maybe the approach is a little different, because you notice one little quirk with how they think and how they move and how they do something. You know, one may be able to give them like three things and they're good, and the other one, right? Give them one at a time and they'll take it in better. Being able to do that and know that about my student, I think that's the best.
yeah. Thank you. Obviously, being it's almost like your students are teaching you because they're teaching you about them. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? They're teaching you about how they work, how they think, how they process things, and you as a teacher have to learn from the student to be able to teach them better. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like you're teaching each other. The
Yeah.
student is the teacher and the teacher is the student. So that's
Yeah.
that's really cool. So observation obviously is a key quality of a great teacher, right?
I think so. I think so. How do they say that? Seek to understand, then to be understood.
Hmm.
You know,
Right,
if you
right.
can understand more about others, then you can be understood by them better.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's great, man. That's
yeah.
great stuff. So let's we're not ready completely to get into the philosophy. I did want to touch a little bit on more jujitsu. We spoke a little about being humble. I think earlier how jujitsu can humble you. Definitely humbled me when I
Hmm.
first started. When I went to the other gym, they put me on a woman. I'm fresh out of CrossFit. I mean, I got muscles on muscles, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm ready for anything. I thought, and they
Yeah.
put me on a lady who was maybe 120 pounds. And
Uh-huh.
I'm just like, okay, this is fine, but I'm gonna take it easy on her. Man, she whipped my butt. She would choke me out, triangle, like she was just doing kind of whatever. And this is just some small woman, but small
Hmm.
lady.
Hmm.
And that really that's one of the things that kept me coming to jujitsu because I couldn't walk around Earth knowing that there was a lady 120 pounds that could freaking kill me with her
Uh-huh.
bare hands. So
Yeah.
that I was like, I have to at least come back and be better than her. but
Yeah.
um, but ego that it tamed my ego. It had me like, okay, well, I have to like take my time with this and actually learn the craft. I'm not going to be able to out muscle my way out of every situation, and that has a
Hmm.
lot of carryover too into other things in life. But my question to you is, how did has jujitsu taught you anything about your ego? And just to tag on another question, how did it help you deal with conflict or disagreement with your background in jiu-jitsu?
Mm. Let's see. So
Loaded
let's
question, I know, but
No, no, it's not too loaded. I don't feel like I'm gonna lose a limb or anything for it. So with when it comes to the ego side with it, that is one of the best things about jujitsu when it's done well, and especially when you take someone and it's not bad. It's like you said, sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? And when you have somebody who has this perception of, okay, I can do all these things with it, and that person's not going to be able to beat me because I'm bigger, stronger, and more athletic with it. And then they encounter someone who has the time in and understands technique, understands leverage, and their timing is dialed in really well. That's what catches the athletic person off guard, and it can go one of two ways with it. Some are open to take in humility, right? And say, okay, wait a second. I was expecting this. I got this result. Now I want to find out why. Because I'm curious, not because I'm angry, but because I'm curious, right? I want to see why this happened. And then you have the others where their ego is so big and it And when that happens, instead of having the humility to take that in and say, okay, let me be curious about this, for some people that ego just gets bruised, you know, and that's always the juggle with it. In many cases, I think, you know, I think there are a lot of unfortunately, I got to say, a lot of men out there who their ego, they're not prepared to have their ego challenged, and so that prevents them from even stepping on the mat and even trying it, because it's like, once you get on the mat, it's like that first step on the mat for men or for women, sometimes that hardest step with it, you know. And there are some men who have had bad experiences, maybe when they were younger, things like that. And then they get bigger and then things shift. Now they're like, yes, I'm big, I'm strong, I can do this. But then to be controlled by someone who's smaller, ooh, that hits them a different way, you know. My favorite one, you mentioned, being put with a lady, right? And getting worked with it. One of my favorites is one of my wife's coworkers, he was a firefighter, and he ended up working with my youngest daughter, right? Who is now 15, but she was like 13, almost maybe barely 14 years old at the time. And, the guy's in good shape. She's on the top of the fight with it, and he tries to use the strength and tries to throw her off with his arms. And my wife was watching, and his arms started to come up and they extended into the air. And my daughter looks
Humble.
over at my wife and she goes, you see the eyes go, and she just looks right at her, and the leg whips around and then ends up in the arm bar from the mount, and she lands it, and she goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe I just did that to you. I'm so sorry." And he's like,
That is so cool.
"No, that was awesome. Oh my gosh. That's so cool." You know, but it
Glad
may
he took
have
it
been
well.
also because but it may have also been because he's a girl dad too. So he's got a
Mhm.
small daughter. And so he was like, yeah, I want her to be like that. I want her to be able to handle business if business comes.
Mhm.
So, it's always figuring that out with it, and figure that, if you can set your ego to the side and say, okay, I'm willing to learn, and I understand that I can understand that I'm going to find some things out about myself that I don't necessarily want to know. I'm willing to find out that the strength that I think I have is not going to be as valuable as I thought it was. I think it's a shifting of the value. And when you can do that, that does help that. And then, when it comes to the conflict end, um, I mean, shoot, man, I went through a lot of conflicts way, way beforehand with it. I got stories on that, you know. Um, I'd say what it the thing it did for me is taught me to look at it a little bit differently. How can I approach the conflict? How can I, and I'm not just, and it can be anything, physical fight, disagreement, but disagreement between me and somebody else, nothing that's going to turn physical. We're not we're on polar opposites of what's going on. And just learning that, hey, if I go in this way, it's not going to work out the way I want it to be, right? But if I change my approach, if I approach this puzzle a little bit differently, if I approach the problem a little bit differently of this conflict, it can work out differently for it. And you get to a certain spot with it, it's like you get a certain level of training. If your ego is in check, your humility is in check for it, it's like if it does arrive, you're more likely to get to just walk away from the situation, right? And de-escalate that with it more than anybody else, right? But when the ego gets in the way with it, that's when the threat starts getting higher with it, and people get hurt, people get banged up because they got to prove something. So, yeah.
One thing I remember, one of the first lessons from jiu-jitsu is something that you taught me. And and it may be just be the Gracie principle, but I heard it from you. But is like the first key to self defense is not even fighting at all, just disengaging, running away, and not even being in proximity of that potential threat there. And that's a simple idea, but it's really it's really based, I think, because yeah, I could be the best fighter in the world, but it's any fighter can get hurt. You know what I mean? I
Yes.
mean, even a professional fighter could get hurt, could get shot or whatever. And say you do beat this guy up or whatever, who's to say that's the end of it? He might want to retaliate later. He might sue you and win. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just a lot of the fight doesn't just always have to. You don't know if the fight is going to end there on the street or whatever. It could be taken
Mhm.
to a place where you don't want it to go. So just not fighting at all
Yeah.
is the best win, I think, and just walking away. So yeah, that's good. And
Mhm.
just one quick thing else for me, it makes me just makes me not want to fight people because they're even when the white belts come in, the big guy, we got big white belts that might come by, and yeah, I
Yeah.
may beat them up, I may tap them, but it's still not always as easy as it seems. This is still a grown man here,
Yeah.
and he's not actually trying to hurt me. So take this outside the gym and on the street, and I'm going against a guy who's I don't know 200. I'm about 185 now, but going against a guy who's 220, even if he has no experience fighting, he can still hurt. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
So why? So yeah, even if I'm capable, like if you don't have to engage, don't engage, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you know, the side note to that, it's like defending yourself is one thing with it, but if you have the option to take yourself out of that situation, who does that benefit? Benefits everybody. It benefits you, it benefits that other person. And like you say, you don't know how much further it's going to go. And all the choices we make have the consequence. And, what consequence are you willing to accept? The you know, the in the recent training that I did, I talking with the security team, because the resort that they're at with it, it's like, okay, what do you guys typically have? You have, you know, families here with their kids, you know, and there are certain individuals who it's like, okay, if you say something to the father in that situation, right? Maybe calling out a behavior that isn't the best in the situation, right? Because it's around other people, bad language, anything like that, stuff that's making other people uncomfortable. You call that out for it. And if you do that in front of their kid, they say, "Oh, well, you're disrespecting me in front of my kid." It's like, no, this isn't what this is. And if you cross that line, you go physical with it, and let's say even if you do win that fight in that situation, um, what memory have you made for that person's child? If you're talking about it's supposed to be a family vacation, we want to have good memories, right? But now, what has that kid been marked with? Well, there's that time that, my dad was saying these things and somebody said something to him, and then this happened to my dad, right? And now that child is hurt with it. And that child wasn't even directly interfaced in there with it. They were the bystander, but it's connected to them still. So, just always you always have a choice as to how you handle things. And now that's a big piece I like to push. We do it with the kids, but we have to send the reminders to the adults. Hey, it's the same thing. You don't have to come out and peacock on it, right? It's okay to walk away. What's the ultimate win? I got to safety, right? You went home that day. You lived the next day with it, right? And hopefully with no damage. I
Exactly.
take that as a win, you know.
I take that as a W too, man. Thank you for that. Um, so we've been going for about 36 minutes. Let's
Yeah.
start to transcend to the interesting stuff and
Oh, he even said transcend.
transcend. Is that the right? That's probably the right word. I think that's
Yeah, transition, transcend. I'm aware with that. We're
Yeah, yeah.
elevating.
Let's go with it. Let's go with it. I'll say it again. Transcend. We're about to transcend to the second half of the conversation and
Yeah.
get into some philosophy, some religion, and some worldviews. So this is the real reason why I brought you on, because I think this jujitsu, I put here something I love about jujitsu is that it puts you in contact with reality. You know, you can think something works until you get tested with it. So you do a jujitsu move and that works, but then you go against another guy and it doesn't work. So it makes me think like, man, so this was true for me then, but now it's kind of not true. Now I gotta kind of like refine it. So in a weird way, Ray, that makes me think about religion and philosophy. So like, it's like, how do we know what's true? I think I know what is true now, but who's to say I may learn something new and that changes things.
Hmm.
And it just makes me think like, maybe there's something out there that I don't know that could change my whole view. But so I guess to start off the philosophical point, could you describe your current worldview and what led you to it?
Mm. Okay. The condensed version. Let's go for that because
Okay.
it's a lot of stuff. Um, I would say in if we were going to say, okay, if we're looking at it as, okay, where do I sit at when it comes to that spiritual to that spiritual religious side, anything like that? For me, I would say that I'm very loose on the religious side, but I do consider myself a level of spiritual. Um, for me, I I see spirituality as more than a lot of the standard constructs with it, right? And the standard rules. I break things down sometimes to the simplest items with it, you know. When we talk about the ideas of right and wrong, right, good and bad, I look at it as being a human being, we all have the capability to do great things, um, or really terrible things. And it's the choices that we make that affect the rest of the universe, right? Kind of the idea of small pebble, big ripple, you know, the, if we look at, a lot of, religious stories, how they're told, everything like that. I see it, for me, it tells that same story, right? In many ways. Small pebbles, big ripples, and the choices that you make can affect everybody else. So what choice are you going to make? You know, and that's where it kind of goes. And, the other side of it is, I classified myself for a very long time more toward the agnostic end with it. I never said there was nothing, right? You have to accept the idea that there's nothing to say there's nothing. But agnostic, I say there's a lot I don't understand, but I see a lot of connections in things that that many say are not connected. But I look at them from sometimes what's the historical end with it too, because it's been present all the way through. I think there's more connection in people than they want to admit when it comes to religious backgrounds, the stories that are told, and how we're connected as just as humans with it. We've all been seeking something in one way or another. Some are it just which connection did you take, you know? And everybody has to find their right one. So
You said a second ago, and correct me if I'm wrong, you said you're more on spiritual, but not religious. Is that
yeah,
more or less what you said?
yeah,
So I hear that like a lot from people. Like I've been hearing that a lot from my friends. I have friends and family members who say that. And one thing that puzzles me sometimes when I hear that, I guess I want to clarify from you, what do you mean? Because when I say spiritual, I mean a certain thing. Like
Mhm.
I have that based on something. You know, me being a Christian, the church, the Bible. When I say spirit, I mean something by it. So if by not being connected to any religion or any organized religion or belief like that, what do you mean when you say spiritual? Like where is that? Where is that coming from when you say that
Okay.
word? What do you mean by that? Does that make sense? What I'm
So,
asking?
oh, it does. It does. So when I say spiritual, right, what I mean by that is, and the thing is, even as I sit right now, right, there are times I still pray, right? What are we doing when we're praying, right? I say every person, right, you're a piece of something bigger, right? And if we go into religious texts with it, what is, in the Bible, what is it said about man, right? You were created in God's image, right? And so I take a little bit of that and say, okay, what does that mean? You're created in God's image. Well, when you look at some of the older testaments and everything like that, when they describe what did the angels look like, everything like that, they don't look like human beings. It's some of them are kind of terrifying when they say it, when they describe what it is. But what does that mean? With created in God's image, you're capable of great things. You don't have the same level that omnipresent power with it, but what are we capable of doing as people? Can I uplift somebody else in their time of need? Yes. Can I have, on the flip side, could I take someone and take away everything from them? Yes, we've seen that happen. That capability is to be there with it. And to be spiritual, I say is tapping in, maybe in prayer, and just kind of analyzing yourself and saying, okay, what do I want to be in this situation? Do I want to create the positive ripple in the world? Do I want to draw positive to me, right? Do I want to make those connections, right? Or do I want to push things away in those situations, right? And that is the bigger piece, because spirituality to me is a connection, right? If you go, regular church goer, why do you go to church? Well, because I want to feel connected, right? I want to feel connected to the Father, right? I want to feel connected to the creation. Great. If that helps you do that and it makes you a better person for it, do it. There's nothing wrong with it. Are you hurting anybody by going? No, if it makes you do that. But if, but like for me, going, as a kid, going to those places, I never felt that connection there with it. But I've gone to other places, right? Because if it's all created, by God with it, I'm in God's creation all the time, you know? But there's places sometimes where it's too noisy. So where do I go? Isolation, the quiet, right? And that goes back to, the other writings. What do we do? Right? Lay me near still waters, right? The calm place. Why? Because, we have to tap into that sometimes and just come to that calm and connect, right, with the rest of the world. That's where I feel that a lot of that spirituality comes into play with it. It's what do you want to go with, right? There's so much that, and just even in my time with it, I've seen other things that I can't explain, right? And it's like not a science thing with it. It's like I've seen things happen that I cannot explain with it. It's beyond my comprehension with it. And so that's where it's like, okay, yeah, I have to admit there's probably something else there. How do we, why can't I describe what this is exactly, or why this happened, you know? Some would say luck, some would say fate, I said, hey, that's divine intervention, you know, at that moment, and I feel like I've had that even happen for myself, whereas like, hey, get pulled back from something because it wasn't going to be good there, you know? So that's why I say spiritual. That for me, that's spiritual, is being able to let yourself be open and to listen and then discern, okay, is this positive? Is this negative? Right? Is it being spoken with the intention of, some would say, with godliness, right? Or that of the negative, right? So,
No, good. Thank you for that. That was interesting. Just listening to you talk, I heard you say, so you pray. Is that a activity that you practice, prayer?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you don't see prayer as an activity that's connected to religion in general. Is prayer is not a religious practice to you?
I don't think so. I don't think so. It the thing is it span is prayer or meditation. I That's how I classify it. Is it's almost in meditation with it. Um, to connect with the rest of the world, of the universe, of what's going on with it, and trying to tap into that spot and find truth, trying to find guidance, right? That is, I think that transcends religion, because in my research with it, you find all these different religions and they say, okay, well, pray. Well, what are you doing? Okay, are you begging or are you trying to connect? Right. And others say, yeah, come to prayer because you're going to find this. Right. And others say, why pray? You know, it's, you're not going to be heard. Right. So it's like the conflicting message with it. So to me, it's like, okay, when I've been in presence and I feel something different with, sometimes when I've done it by myself, but other times when I've been with other people who are very much of Christian faith with it, and I feel something different. I pray, connect, and they say, "Hey, can we pray together?" Yeah, I'll pray with you. I'll connect with you, right? And to feel that, and it's like, okay, this is a good one. This is one who's tapped in, and really on the proper side of what's going on. So, you know, you don't have to be religious to pray. You just have to be open to connecting.
Interesting. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
So you said you used the word feel a lot. You said I think towards the beginning of this segment you said that I didn't feel it here, but I felt it there.
Hmm.
And when someone asks to pray with me, sometimes I get the feeling or
Yeah.
something, right? And I'm not straw manning you. That's what you said. Okay.
No, that's proper. Yeah. No, exactly what I said. Yeah.
So, okay, is this is going to get, I guess, a little specific here, but just roll with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
what you feel? Is that the barometer that tells you what's true or false or good or bad? If it feels a certain way to you, or could it be something possibly that is external to what you're feeling in Ray's heart? Because your feelings can
Hmm.
be wrong, right?
Oh, yeah. No, feelings can be wrong. Feelings can be wrong. And it may not be the best word for it,
Mm,
you know, but that's where I say that discernment has to kick in for it, you know.
mm,
Um, when I say feel, there's, there's a certain physio physical reaction. There's a certain, you know, you feel it, it goes all the way into your nervous system, you know, kind of an electricity that kind of goes through you. You, the air changes a little bit, you know. There's a few different things, and it's like, to say feel is just kind of the blanket statement for it. And when I say feeling that with it, then it's discerning. It's like, okay, what is this? Is this in the positive? Is this in the negative? you know, because I have had situations where like I don't feel like anything's wrong, but then things went wrong, you know, in a different way. But it's I think it's being able to come to the can you feel where the origin is? Can you feel where the is it really coming from the right place? Is the source good for it? You know, maybe from somebody's heart. You know, you may have, you know, I've had talked with other folks and, you know, where they've come into contact with somebody else and you just know there's something that's off on that person. You don't know exactly what, but you know something is off, you know? And then you just kind of watch, you observe, you encounter, and then you start to see what is not right there and how they treat other people and what they do, maybe what they say, you know, things like that. And you didn't, you couldn't quite place it at first, but you knew something was just not in alignment right there. You know, that's that's kind of the way I have to lean with it.
What do you think gives you that intuition? What gives Ray the intuition to know that, hey, this is a negative thing for me or for my family, or this is a positive thing for me? Is it just you, or is it this? Is it the universe, or is it some source out there that we don't know, or
I
whatever?
would
What is giving you this intuition?
when you say the source outside you don't know with it, then it's like, okay, yeah, that the universe, right? It all falls in that category because it's all bigger than me. It's like, okay, where does that feel right? Right. And sometimes I'll even look to my wife and say, right, I just have to give her a look a little bit. And it's just like, hey, what are you feeling on this? Right. And then she'll have her feeling might be her feeling a lot of time will be in alignment with that. Um, you know, and then I've even asked that same question um, with a couple people who are actually, you know, ranked there in the church for for what they do and stuff like that. You know, someone who's actually in their church, they're actually one of the prophets. And when it's like, I just kind of look and it's like, how do you feel about that situation? And they're like, I feel like this. And it's like, okay, I'm not too far off. We're kind of feeling that same thing. And so that's where it's that little discernment comes in. And it's like, okay, let me listen. Come to calm. Let me listen to hopefully that message that's coming in. Is this right? Is it right? Is it off? Is it questionable? Is this something I move forward in? Do I need to keep this at a distance because this is waiting for an opportunity to do something that it shouldn't do? You know, do I have to protect something else that's there? You know, so that's the spot that you can't totally explain. And it might, you know, in concept, we might say it's God, right? You know, in one name or another, right? Um, for me, it's like, okay, well, you know, this one side says it's this name, this side says it's this name, and this side says it's this name, but it's all what? It's one powerful piece. If we strip off the names, what do we have? One powerful piece, right? All of creation, all the universe. You're part of that. And so it's like, do you listen? Right? Are you willing to listen? And I see that it kind of that powerful, that overall power right there is is that source with it. But can I say it's God? I don't know. Can I say it's, you know, by the name of, you know, the sacred name of Yahweh, right? I don't know. Or is it, you know, Allah, right? I don't know. That's the piece everyone wants to argue on with it. If you take out the argument, it's pretty simple. It's, hey, it's something bigger than you. Are you willing to try to connect? You know, is it operating positively? So,
So, religion, you think, gets in the way of knowing what that source is. If
what
we
I
strip
th
away, if we strip away the, you said the categories, Islam, uh, Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, you name it. If we strip away the categories, the labels, that's an easier path to, we'll just say God.
mm,
Would you
maybe. I think it depends upon the person, you know. We each have to have our we each have to have our own way of what we're of how we'll take the message, you know. So if we look at we look at those with it, and again, going back, right? If we go to the early beginning with it, where do we, if we strip off those three names, and we just say, okay, what's the general message that comes in Christianity? What's the general message that comes in Judaism? What's the general message that comes in Islam, right? Or in Buddhism, right? And if I could pose the question to you, let me see what you come up with the answer for. In what is the general message? If you stripped it down, everything else with it, what is the general message that you take being a Christian for your operation in the world? What does it tell you?
So I'm gonna be fair and just answer you, but I want to give my real thoughts on that question.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just to answer you, if we strip it down, most because all religions aren't on equal planes to me. I don't believe Satanism, for example, is on equal plane with Christianity. I
Yeah,
don't put it all on the same level.
yeah, fair enough.
But just to be just if we're just talking about Islam and Judaism and Christianity, if we strip that down to the lowest common denominator, uh, sure, to love God, we want to love God and love Him to the best of our abilities. I would say that Islam, Christianity, Judaism probably could all reduce to just that. But to me, and I'm not a philosopher, but in my philosophical research and my contemplation on that, all this presupposes, I think, that just because we reduce it to a common denominator, that's better than having the right specific path to God.
Hmm.
I think for reducing it, in my opinion, reducing it to a common denominator type of worldview, I think that holds potential for even more confusion. Because let's just say this: I asked you earlier about your feelings. This feels right to Ray. This feels right to Ray's family, and this is probably God giving me this intuition. Maybe
Yeah.
I would say, well, this feels right to Desmond. This feels right to Desmond's family, and I believe God has given me this intuition. But let's just say your proposition from what God is giving you, is a complete propositional contradiction to what God has given me.
Hmm.
And God has given me what I think is good for mankind, not just my family, not just for me personally.
Yeah.
God has given me revelation, or God has given me something that I think is good for all men,
Hmm.
everywhere, at all times.
Hmm.
But He's giving you a whole different proposition of what's good for all men, everywhere, all times.
Hmm.
So I think if it's no structure, if there's no categories, if there's no labels, then I think that opens the box to all types of even more problems. I think
Hmm.
having labels gives me a clear understanding of what this group or what that group believes about that source or whatever. So, like, we go into a grocery store, we have labels on the food, so I can tell the difference between this this ribeye and this T-bone or
Yes.
whatever. I can tell the difference between this can of corn and this other can of peas or whatever. So I don't think labels are in and of themselves bad. I think we kind of need labels. But I
Hmm.
don't know if that more or less answered your question. Now, I guess just to reiterate again, I think we need categories, and I think that we need um, we need some sort of doctrine, some sort of actual path to follow, and
Hmm.
that we can point to that path. It's not just something that is within ourselves. It's something
Hmm.
that is that we can point to and say that's the path. That's where you need to go. That's where I need to go. Not just everywhere. But I don't know what you think, or even if I made sense with all what I said. But I'm
No,
interested to hear you part of that.
yeah, no, it makes sense. So in going back to my question, right?
Okay.
Here's 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 what I take from each of those with it. In general, what is the general message, right? When you talk about the major religions, right? And I link Christianity, Judaism, and Islam together because they all draw from the source. They're Abrahamic, right? They're connected to Abraham, right? And then you have it breaks down. Then um you have uh right, connect, understand there's power greater than you. Okay. Now from there, what do you do in the world, right? How do you live? Do you choose, right? And it tells you, right, as a Christian, what should you do with the world? What comes at what, how do you operate with it, right? As you say, the tenets, right? And with the, the typical tenets, right, that we usually associate to Christianity, what do we call them? Ten Commandments, right? But if you go into the Judeo side with it, there's more than 10, right? In fact, they have even more tenets with it. Um, And so the original was beyond that with it. And then now you have what they say, you have the Torah, but it's actually a vast library that is their laws, as they call it, of living, right? All the way down to how you interact with people of other culture, right? Things like that. But overall, it's okay, what do you do? Love God, love and take care of your family, love and take care of your neighbor, right? What do I see right there? Show love for other people. Love should be positive, right? Interact positively with the rest of the world. Be that small pebble, but create the big ripple, you know? Avoid the things that are negative, that take away from the world, that take away from others, you know? The, and however you want to lay that out with it. In Christianity, it's hey, what are we supposed to do? Feed the poor in many cases, take care of the sick, right? And then in the Judeo end with it, especially when you talk about Orthodox Jews, right? Do you know the meaning of the locks on the side?
Man, I used to. I forgot. But tell me, please.
So it's a reminder. I only got this because I had a student who I did private lessons with for a long time, Orthodox Jew, and he was in
Mm-hmm.
rabbinical school. So, and I asked, I said, what's the relevance, right? And we had many conversations. Because also he was also a student of human anthropology as well.
Oh, nice.
And the meaning of the locks is a reminder of how you tone your field, of what you do with your field with it. You have the portion that goes to you, you have the portion that feeds this, but then to reserve a quarter to give to the world, to put out to help somebody else.
Interesting.
And that's where I see the overlaps with it, right? However you want to say, into each individual subsect, everything like that. But that even transfers over into Islam with it, where statistically, there when you look at it, there's a lot of there's a lot of members of the Muslim community who give a lot to charity, where it's designated out. And then even culturally, because it's tied to their religion portion with it, is they have the tenet that if you are a traveler and you come to the door and you say, I need water, then they have to give you water. I need food. They're supposed to give you food, right? And that's where I see the commonalities between all of these with it, where it's, hey, take care of the other people. It doesn't say just take care of these, take care of other people, regardless, right? And that's where I think that's probably one of the primary filters with it, where it says, okay, take care of other people. Does it say take care of only these ones? No. It says take care of other people, right? Be positive, right? Make a positive ripple. Show the care when you can. Show respect for others, right? Give to give, basically give to build something better, And I think that's where it's supposed to be at with it. Where are you going? What are you contributing into the world with it, right? Um, as a as a Christian, if I could, as a Christian, do you feel or do you see in your experience, right? Because you got some time. Um, do you see many other Christians, and I don't mean this in a blasphemous way at all with it, but I describe it as walking the path of Christ, you know? And what I mean by that is in part of my experience and what pulled me away and I didn't get that feeling going sometimes into religion was that my experience, I had a lot of people who talked the talk, but didn't walk the walk. They say, I worship Christ, but they were terrible to other people. Their actions, their attitudes, how they treated people, um, in daily life, right? They didn't express those what were preached as the Christian values, right? And so it's a question that I've asked quite a few people with it. And I say, okay, if you really analyze it, how many people have you known that have truly walked the path of Christ, right? And when I say the path of Christ, I say being a light for others. You uplift. You are a positive influence. You might be flawed, but you're encouraging others to be better. You are trying to be a better person, right? And you're taking the steps sometimes of sacrifice to be the better person as you go through life with it. That's kind of where that's a little bit where I sit. So for you, what's your experience with it? Have you encountered that? Have you seen those who walk the path and those who don't walk the path?
Abs- yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing all that, man. I really appreciate it. I'm having a good time here. Um, yeah, I think what you're saying is, have I seen hypocrisy in my, in my walk in the church, in my walk with Christ? Yeah, yeah, definitely. And
Mhm.
I'm no different. I mean, there are times where I've been hypocritical. There are times when I just haven't, like you said, walked the walk. I mean, I talked a lot and I didn't live up to what I was saying,
Mhm.
in this sense. So just before I continue to answer, I'm not judging anyone out there. I'm saying that I've been the hypocrite.
Oh yeah.
So just
I,
to, just
th-
to put that out there, just to
hey,
put that out
we are human, and we
there. Yeah,
and it has to be expected that we make flaw with it,
yeah,
but it's what we
yeah,
do afterwards.
exactly. Now I definitely agree with that. It's what we do afterwards. But just to go more into your question, oh yeah, yeah, I see that happens a lot, man. It happens. People are like that in the church, other religions. People are hypocrites, and that can definitely be a turnoff for someone who's, let me see. I'm just using this as an example. Let me see what this Christianity thing is about. I mean, I've been hearing about it. My friends been trying to get me to come to church.
Hmm.
let's go see what this is about. It seems like these people are pretty good. Then that person finally steps into church, and maybe he initially likes it, maybe he thinks it's great, but then he sees certain things going on with the community. People are gossiping, people are doing things, people are lying on each other. The pastor is taking money, like all types of stuff. And you go into that from the outside looking in, and you're like, man, these people are no different than people I'm hanging out with every day. Like, wow, how is this any different than what I see every day from the world?
Yeah.
So that, like you're saying, man, that could be a major just turn off from for someone on religion. That could get people just out of religion altogether. Just seeing the particulars within a ecosystem behave uh, I can't even talk now, hypocritically in their
Hmm.
ways. However, I personally don't think that is the best excuse. And I'm not saying that you're saying this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm just talking here. I don't think that is a good excuse to just disregard religion in general, specifically because, yeah, I mean, people, particulars within a system can go rogue.
Yeah.
America, let's just talk about America as a country. America as a country is functioning to an extent. We're functioning well, and where people are more or less obeying the law, and we're getting along. But you do got idiots within America who hurt people, who steal from people, who do these things. But that doesn't necessarily mean that someone shouldn't move to America, given where they're contrasting that where there is, I mean,
Hmm.
let's just talk about the corporate industry, just being a job. There are all types of hypocrites in the corporate world. There are people who do
Hmm.
shifty stuff all the time at people's jobs. But that doesn't mean people shouldn't apply to work there. That doesn't mean that a person who's working there shouldn't leave that job because there are hypocrites there. And people don't. People stick with their jobs forever, for the most part, dealing with those hypocrites and dealing with those bad people there. So I guess my point is that just because particulars within an ecosystem or within a worldview mess up or misbehave, I don't think that's a one-to-one knock on the actual worldview. That I
Hmm.
think that's just, yeah. Some people I believe in free will, and I believe people just gonna make bad choices. But those are those choices of those people within that worldview. To me,
Hmm.
I don't think that necessarily makes the entire worldview bad or obsolete. Does that make sense?
Hmm. A little bit, yeah. Yeah. I can get where you're coming from with it. The using your example for it, right? Um, and I was having a conversation with somebody about a different thing with it, right? And it's to talk about what is the promise, right? What is the promise that is in that message with it? And it was in regards to government and one thing with it. But if we say in business, right? Because you said that, in the corporate world with it, you have
Yeah.
those who are hypocritical, everything like that. Well, with free will, what do we also have the choice to do? To not do business with that because they don't hold up to the promise, you know? And when I was younger, right? And this is my personal experience with it,
Please
and I
share.
and I encountered, I encountered kids who were my age, and then sometimes even adults who were my age or who are older than me, excuse me, kids who were my age and then adults. And again, looking at the situation where they proclaimed to be one thing, right? And that and they follow this and they do that and they go to church and everything like that on the regular, all the things with it that supposedly made them a good version of what that was supposed to be, the promise of what that was, right? But then to find that person was the one who would say, "Oh, well, because you don't do what I do, you're going to be punished in this way." you're gonna be you're you're gonna go to hell because you don't do this, right? Or the one who says, well, I'm this, and then catch them, right? Like you say, being the hypocrite. But then when you call them out as being the hypocrite, it's like, oh no, well, no, I'm this person. I'm this person. They want to maintain what the facade is, but you know the truth of them, right? And so what becomes, just like you can choose not to do business with a company that doesn't hold up to the promise. You know, think there are many of those who have been turned off with it because the guys, there have been those who have done evil who hide behind the guise of religion, and in some cases try to twist it as a justification for the evil that they're doing. And that's what's really hard for it because it's like, I want to believe it's this. I see examples of where it is the promise that is put up, that this is my life, this is the tenets of my life, this is how I operate my life, right? And they do that every single day, you know, whether it gets hard, everything like that. And then others, and it not even because it's hard, but because they have the opportunity, that they will not express the love that they proclaim to have. They will not do the things that are underneath the tenets of what their life is supposed to be with it, that make it very difficult, you know. And understand, when I say as I'm agnostic, I'm not anti-Christian. I'm not anti-Judaism. I have contacts all over with it. And I love to talk with these people with it. And it's more, how do I connect with people, right? And how can I, and like we said, to understand, and I get to, and like today, getting to understand more about you, right?
Yeah,
And what your journey has been, and
yeah,
it's a good thing, you know.
yeah.
For me, it's, my journey has been different and it has guided me in a certain way. Have I seen, have I seen contrary to what I've seen before? Yes. And that's where it lets me, I could, learning more and seeing more. What does it let you do? You can adjust. And I can say, yeah, there's more. It's okay. There's more who are there who are operating right. We're seeing that, we're seeing we're seeing some cleaning that's happening there with it. Those who are the charlatans are now leaving to other places because they've been found out and others know, and that gives me some hope, you know. I hope it continues that way where those who are fake can do that, and I hope those who are there can still maintain the love that they profess to have, that they want to supposedly spread with the rest of the world, to be open to others that are out there, you know, but may not be living exactly as they live. So,
Thank you, man. That was very, very interesting. Uh, as you were talking, I was thinking a better. I should have given a better example. It's like, I guess, someone going to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and Gracie Jiu-Jitsu has tenants, right? It's gonna
yeah.
we got things that you you would say to someone coming into your gym that, yeah, this is good for self-defense. This is going to help you physically, make you stronger, and you would make those. I wouldn't, maybe not promises, but you would say that this is what, as a byproduct of coming and seeing me at the gym, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So say, right, right. So, but let's just say, someone goes in there and they come out. It doesn't. We talked about the ego earlier, but say
Yeah.
it boosts the ego coming to see you. Say they come in, oh, my ego's boosted. I'm the baddest man on the block now. I know how to break someone's arm and blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And they go
Mm-hmm.
out and they're not a more ego check person. They're not, this. what you would think would be a byproduct of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Does that person make Gracie Jiu-Jitsu bad? Should people not come to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu because this
Ah, it's
guy
a
is
good way.
part of it?
It's a good way to put it. It's a good way to put it. That one, I'm going to tell you, ideally the answer would be no, you know, but that's where we would go into the idea, um, of, as I would describe it, of the shepherd, right? What is the goal of the shepherd in Christianity? What do they have to do? What is their obligation as the shepherd?
Or you mean like, I guess it depends on what you mean. When you say shepherd, you mean like the priest or pastor? What is
Hmm.
their goal?
Yeah, it could be if you are the shepherd, if you are the shepherd of the church, the shepherd of the flock, right?
Hmm.
What is it? What is one of the jobs you have to do?
Well,
Do
I
you?
can give my best answer.
Yeah,
I'm not a priest. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a leader of anybody. I'm not a leader of anybody. I
you are
do
a leader.
follow.
You are so a leader. Do not say you're not a leader.
Um, well, I'm not a good leader. I'll say that.
Oh no, you're a developing leader. You're a developing leader.
Okay.
Come on,
Okay.
you're putting yourself out here, man. That takes leadership to put yourself out there. You've
I,
done stuff. You lead, bro. You
I,
lead.
I'll go with that. Thank you, brother. Thank you. But just given, I guess, my position, I'm just to be clear, I guess, I'm framing it from a Christian perspective when
Yeah.
you say shepherd, and specifically from an Orthodox Christian perspective. I would say if I was a priest or if I was a pastor, shepherd, whatever you want to name it, my main thing would be to lead people to be like Jesus, to be like Christ. That may be, and I mean a specific thing by that, but just
To
in
guide them.
general, to
Yeah.
guide, yeah, to guide them, to guide, but
To,
to guide them specifically to be like Christ. That
yes.
that's
Guide
that's the
them
thing that
to,
I'm coming. Yeah,
yeah. As I would describe it, your goal is to guide them to a better place,
okay,
right?
okay,
At the same time, what does the shepherd do as they guide the flock? They protect,
mm, okay,
right?
okay.
Part of the role of the shepherd should be to protect. And as as the leader with it, as the shepherd in that situation, if I have somebody that comes in and it's not going that right way, that ego is building and everything like that, we, especially in our advanced class, we have that talk and we say, hey, if you feel, your partner is not being safe with you, if their goal is to win more than to learn, if the only thing they're taking is hurting you with it, I want to know about it. Being willing to have the hard talk to, as that leader, right? If you were the shepherd of, that group with it, to pull that one aside and say, hey, you're not acting right. This is not what this is, and maybe in that realm, be able to say, hey, we have to have this conversation. And if this doesn't go in the correct manner, if this doesn't come into line with it, this is, I can't have you here. I'd like to have you here. I'd like to see you grow, but I can't have you here if this is what this is going to be. And we're seeing, I see more voices in some of the religious leadership that are now raising and saying, no, this is the standard that we have with it, and you need to come to that standard. And I love this description with it. Perfection isn't a destination, it's a direction, right? And if as you described with it, guide people to be like Christ, right? To have that divinity in them, right? And as we were talking about earlier, like I say, have the light, be the light of guidance for somebody else with it, right? Be the one who lights the darkness. Um, to inspire others to do that. It's a great thing with it. But at the same time, in your guidance, sometimes you have to see, hey, that's when you can say, hey, we're gonna have a talk. We need to have this conversation. I see you doing stuff that you're not supposed to do. You're not living right, you know. To be able to do that before that spreads and starts affecting the others, because that bad behavior, that darkness, however you want to call it, that isn't in line with what you're trying to do with it on the basic level, right? I don't get too finite for a lot of things, but on the basic level, where it's not in the right alignment with it, you know, sometimes you have to let that go. You have to send that off and say, you can't be part of this. You need to find where you need to go for a while, you know, and maybe you get to come back. Depends upon the severity of it. We've seen some terrible things, but it applies to the same thing when I have somebody come in. If, you know, sometimes you have to have that hard talk, and sometimes someone has to hear that hard talk. I know I've heard one or two, a few of my own in my time, you know, but it came from a place of love, saying, I don't want this for you, and I think you really need to analyze the path you're on, So, and I think that has to happen the same way for those who are the shepherds, and the leaders in the religious area too. But we're seeing it happen more, where I'm hearing these voices, who are making the statements that are, I think, in that line. Hey, that's bad behavior. That's not what we're about. That is not what we're about. They're not speaking for us. We are this. That's not us. And really setting a clear boundary between the two, and that, like I said, that gives me hope. Gives me so much hope with it, because now it's like, yeah, not that's holding up to the promise. Because, as we see go through the stories, Christ did what? Still went through, you know. Send the message, you know. Go out, send the message. There are those who are going to say that it's not true. Say the message, right? Have faith that there's the message. Go find the flock, find the lost, bring them in. They need guidance, you know. Show them there's a better way.
Thank you, man. You still got time, right? You still got a few.
Oh yeah, we good. We're good. We're
Okay,
good. You cut me
okay.
off when you're ready.
All right. I still wanted to touch on a few things.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
So just listening to you talk, you used a lot of words like earlier you said, as long as they're not doing something that is weird or too weird. I believe you said that earlier about when we were just talking broadly speaking about religions.
Yeah.
Use things like your words like good, this is bad, that's good, that's bad. So I don't know if you believe that all religions are on the same, that all religions are on the same playing field. But let's just say religions are on the same playing field, and people are ultimately trying to reach the higher good. Everyone's just trying to listen to this source and do what they think is good or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But and I believe I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but who ultimately decides for everyone, regardless if they agree or disagree, what's ultimately good or what's ultimately bad? Because,
That.
for example, you got Satanists. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Satanists, you have theological Satanists, and you have, kind of more so, I would say, like they just call themselves Satanists just to piss Christians off. But
Yes.
let's just say you got the theological Satanists who believes that Satan is God. They believe the exact opposite of what I believe. I believe, Christ is God. You know, they would believe that Christ is the devil and the devil is actually God. And they're reaching to what they believe is the highest good in their worldview, which is propositionally contradicting to what I believe is the highest worldview. but let's just say they're sincere. They're not even malicious people. They picked up the same books you did. They read all the books, Hindu, Quran, the Bible, went to different places, different temples, but no, they found the Church of Satan book, read that, and say, "Oh, I got the feeling in me, and this is what's true. All everybody else is wrong. This is where we get morality out of here, out of the Satanist book, and Satan is actually God, not Jesus Christ." But they're sincere and they really believe that. They're not trying to just piss people off. This is what they believe. So I guess my question is, say we have a situation like that. Someone in your view who's not, you don't identify one to one with any religion. You may have different ideas that you like from religions, but you don't identify with any religion per se.
Hmm.
But how, given that scenario that I gave, how can someone in your wherever you say that no, the Satanists they're wrong and the Christians and the Muslims they're right, but they're wrong over here in what they believe. Or could you say that? Could you actually objectively say that group A is right and group B is wrong in any real scenario in someone in
Mm.
your real view? Because I can, I think, in my scenario, because I have a base to rely on from, not just the Bible, but just Orthodox Christian history
Hmm.
and literature
Hmm.
that go back thousands of years. But someone who doesn't connect to any of that, respectfully,
Hmm.
where are you drawing your base to know that that is ultimately wrong and this is ultimately right and vice versa? I hope that was long winded, but I hope that makes sense to
No, 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 no. It was good. It's good. No, I appreciate the your level of detail for it because it gives a little more to it. Um, okay. And I really appreciate that you separated the two versions of saying, okay, well, I'm a Satanist and and a theological Satanist, right?
you.
Or I would
Yeah,
say a Luciferian, right?
right, right,
And
right.
so this is where it gets kind of odd and understand all love, all respect, everything with it, right? Where I'm
No
coming
problem.
from as I
This is why I
speak on
bought. This is why I bought you on, brother.
it.
To talk.
So
Talk.
this is where and understand, for your viewers, everything like this, right? I'm not trying.
Uh,
I'm getting the
okay.
I'm getting the
Are you there? Can
internet
you hear me
connection.
now?
Yes.
Okay. I think we're
Yeah.
back. I think
Yeah.
we're back. Please continue.
So now this is a challenge. This is a challenge where I've popped it up before in the conversation with other people. And again, not trying to be blasphemous, anything like that with it. I say that, when I've in the times that I have met, right, and the little bit of stuff that I've touched in there with it, there's some interesting things that pop up when it comes to those who I would say more Luciferian with it, right? And even when you connect it to Christianity, it's like, okay, we're going to take Christianity, we're going to twist it backwards for it. Um, for some of those who would say they are Satanists or Luciferians with it, instead of say, okay, the devil is God, they're saying, I am God.
Right.
So it's no, there is no God above me. I am God with it. But then in
That's
their
the not to cut you off, but that's the Luciferian uh viewpoint.
if I yeah, if I remember it right, okay, and it's been a
Okay.
long time. But
Right, right, right.
in that right, instead of just saying, well, I'm a Satanist, just again to anger a Christian, right?
Yeah.
Where they say, okay, I'm going to go on this different path with it, right? And in their commandments with it, and I don't remember all of them in detail, but a few of them are like, you know what? Okay, seek knowledge. Okay. Does that really sound like a bad thing to seek knowledge? And some would say, oh, well, it's because they're hiding this or hiding that. Maybe, but in general, seek knowledge, right? Should we not seek knowledge? Should we not seek to understand each other, right? Which ends up being kind of a flip over to the other side where it's like, okay, seek to understand, right? don't tell me about what you know, tell me where you've been, and I'll tell you what you might know with it from your experiences. Where it was like, okay, there. What I what my general guideline is, okay, is what you are doing in your life. Are you hurting, taking away, killing others? Are you doing again the negative actions with it? If you are in realistically, I met some people that you look at them, it's like, oh man, that person looks like they worship the devil. But they were some of the kindest people I ever met. They would help others, but they were like, yeah, no, I'm not dealing with Christian faith. But they were good people. Their actions were good. Their intentions were good. They 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 gave to those who needed to be given to. They would help others who needed to be helped because they said, no, this is the person who I want to be. So, to me, it's like, okay, well, you look different, but you're really walking the path. You're out to help people. You're out to uplift. And then I've met, and then we see things where it's like, okay, that person did what? They were doing this, and they're doing this, and you find out, oh yeah, they were doing all these other things that were hurting, raping, killing, all these negative items with it that take away from somebody else. That's my guidance principle for it. Are you helping people? Do you let them live their lives, or do you take away from them? Do you victimize? Do you target others in life with it? For whatever cause, whatever reason, do you victimize somebody? So if you, like I said, if you're a Luciferian and like, hey, I live my life, I don't subscribe to this with it, but hey, I do this. No, I don't do anything to anybody that they don't want done. Everything must have permission to be done, and they'll operate in that manner. To me, that's not unreasonable. I think that is, more people do that than they really think they do. Hey, I'm going to ask you, hey, can I sit down next to you? Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I shake your hand? Can I give you a hug? Right? We do that just as common politeness for it. But if you are, that good and bad line is merely that. What are you doing to the people in the rest of the world? Are you hurting your kids? Are you hurting your wife? Do you think that someone should suffer for your well-being for it, right? Like if you choose to make them suffer, would you make them suffer for you to do better? That's where it has those lines where it's okay. Are you on the positive or are you on the negative for it? For
Okay.
me.
No, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Does it
So
give clar does it give some clarity at all?
hmm,
I hope so. I hope so.
yeah. No, it did, and thank you for explaining. Um, because I get it. Are you protecting your wife? Are you not hurting anyone? Uh, that's if they're not doing these things, that's good to you,
Hmm.
right? That's good.
That's the general guidelines of
So
good for me with
that's
it. Yeah. If you're
okay.
not victimizing others, if you're not
Right.
victimizing others with it, if you're not doing those things with it, if the rest of your stuff, you choose to live like a hermit, okay. You don't want to talk to anybody, okay. Come on, monks have done that plenty of times.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
seek to
Monks do
find
that.
they seek to find them for their own. Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. You can do that with it. But can can we see that, are you putting people in a place where they can't thrive? That is where it gets hard, you know. By
I'm gonna ask you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, no, you're good. You're good. You're good. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I'm gonna ask you a specific hypothetical, and please don't get offended by this. It's just a simple hypothetical, but just answer me honestly, please. And I don't think you'll get offended, but I just wanted to say this.
I'm usually pretty hard to offend.
This is kind of a one-off thing, but
Go ahead.
your daughter, one of your daughters,
Yeah.
um, she comes to you and says, "Dad, I am converting to be a practicing Satanist. Are you okay with that?"
Mm. Anything else on there?
No. I just
Just
want to
that?
know if you're okay with that.
That's actually, yeah, you're making it easy. It's a hard question, but it's an easy question. Um,
Okay.
the that's where I ask questions. Again, seeking to understand, right? So if it was me in that situation, can I say, okay, well, I don't know if I like this. I definitely don't like this. I don't like the idea of it. Are you, what's telling you to go this direction?
She says the source, Dad, the source that connects us all. You know, because
Mm,
you because Dad, you told me that the Abrahamic religions, they're all connected. You know, and
mhm.
Satan is connected to it because Satan is part of all those religions.
Fair
So
enough.
it just seems like another branch of Abrahamic beliefs to me,
Fair enough.
and I just think this is true, Dad.
Okay. Okay. Are you, do you feel like you're operating in the positive way for it? Are you operating in the good or the bad of what's going on here? What are your other intentions?
Well, Dad. In the Satanic Church, things have been flipped around. So what we've been taught by the Christians, about all this, good stuff and love your neighbor as you love yourself. No, that's always a lie, Dad. Actually, it's just about me. And but I love you, Dad, because I just love you, and I'm making that choice. But it's not because of anything else. It's just because of my reasons and what I believe internally within me.
Hmm.
Not because of what some Christian text says or whatever. And
Hmm.
actually, Dad, I know you taught me not to go out and just get with any man that comes to me, but that's actually good because I think that's good for me. I think that is the best common good. Having sex feels good to me. It's not hurting anyone. No one is forcing themselves because I'm allowing it. No one's
Hmm.
forcing themselves on me, and it feels good. And who I can have a child, and there's life. You know what I mean? Here's life being born, so there's good from it. And the Church of Satan says that's okay. So, but why not do it, Dad?
Hmm. Hmm. Is it the best option for you at this time? Are you able to handle the rest of what this child is going to need?
Well, I mean, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not pregnant yet. But the point I'm trying to get to you, Dad, is that I'm making the choice because I think it's good for me, and I think it's good for society. And this is what the God of the Church of Satan said is good for me. So I'm
Hmm.
sincere, Father. I believe in this. I'm not hurting anyone. This is just what's good for me. And actually, if I have a child, if I have another daughter, I'm gonna teach that to her because this
Hmm.
is what if it's good for me, then it's good for her. She should do the same thing, and it's good. And are you going to tell me that this is wrong, Father?
Mm. That's always a hard choice with it. We always have to make our choices, baby. So,
I
so
I appreciate you for
here's
going with me, man. But do you sort of get what I'm getting at though? Like
I
just in all
get I
seriousness.
get what you're getting at with it, but then this is where it goes to free will, right? And I
Okay.
said, and it would be okay, well, you have your free will for this, right? And if you're going to, as you say, I'm going to teach this to my daughter with it. Okay. Well, then if we're going by those tenets with it, your child also has to be taught the other side. Otherwise you're denying them the knowledge, which would be a violation of your tenet,
That
right?
that I don't believe there's another side. I think it's all just one side of the same coin. I think that
Um,
there really isn't no such thing as a good and a evil. Am I wrong, Dad? Are you going to say that I'm wrong about that? This is what the source told me. This source out there that we can't pin down. We can't pin
mm,
down the source, because Christianity is not right. I mean, they got something good, but it's not all there. Islam doesn't have it all there. It's just some generic source.
Uh,
And this is what the
well,
source told me.
uh-huh.
I'm done, man. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.
No, it's good. It's
But,
good.
but
It's a
yeah,
it's that conversation that's hard, and you have to embrace it, you know? That same conversation, I think, has happened not exactly the same way, but the question of faith, you know? And there's some who question their faith with it, and it may not go that far, but they question their faith. All right. And then, when you say, okay, well, I'm gonna, bed down with any man and this and that with it, that's hard for a dad to hear. But I also look at respectfully, I also look at the statistics that come from Bible belts with it. And in the areas that are Bible Belt areas that say, hey, no sex education, no none of this, none of that with it, you see an usually high amount of early pregnancy. So it's to me, it's not much different. Different package, different different label with it. And is it that you
that's
don't
it.
like the label or do you not like what's in the can? You know? So, it's always the challenge. It's always the challenge. And even in
Again,
that
brother.
situation, go ahead.
Well, I just want to just say, and I want you to finish your thought if you had something to say. That was just, I wasn't trying to put crazy thoughts in your head or anything. That was just a thought experiment, so to speak, just to see what your response would be to that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
God
You tested
forbid
me?
that God God forbid any of that even happens. Going, your daughter's gonna live a full, good, successful life. She's gonna be
Oh
great,
yeah.
and she's not gonna do that. I guess
Yeah.
I was asking more because you're right. This we're kind of going back to the hypocrite thing that you brought up earlier. So yeah, they're hypocrites. People are hypocrites. But then the
Yeah.
Christian, and I'm speaking broadly here when I say
Yes.
Christianity, because I
Yes, yes,
identify as a specific Christian, not
yeah.
I don't identify Christianity as a broad thing, but Christianity as a broad idea. Yeah, there are particulars within the framework that go astray and do things like that, you know. But
Yes.
again, to me, maybe you disagree, but to me, that's just because particulars within the system mess up. Just like the guy who came into the jiu-jitsu gym and trained with you, he didn't come
Yeah.
out like your typical student. That's not an overall letdown of
Oh yeah,
the
no.
Gracie
No.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
So
no, no, no.
I was speaking more so from a moral perspective. If we're trying to define what's normative, we're trying to find out what's good, regardless if this one group says it's good or not. So I say this
Mhm.
is good and this is good, rather you agree with it or not. I was
Yeah.
that it was more of a moral type of epistemic question. That's what that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Overall with it, and this is where it starts early. Something like that it starts early with it. And, when we talk about, the morality of it, the guidance of it, it's like, okay, I say, you know, you may say, you say, my religion sets the framework for it, right? And many would say that, which is understandable. And then for me, because it was like, okay, well, I can't subscribe to that. I can't subscribe to that, right? And respectfully, right? You kind of mentioned it, right? There's Christianity overall, but there's many different versions of it, right? And so, small joke with it, I say, you say Christianity, but they even argue about which way is the right way. They can't agree, right? There's this, we say this, okay, but do we put do we put Mary in there? Yay or nay? Right? Well, that's who carried Jesus. That's kind of an important job with it. Was there a message that was there with it? Um, but when we go to the morality thing with it, I think that goes into the levels of self-value with it, and to say if the only answer to it is, well, you know, religious wise, we say this is wrong, right? And then the question comes up of why. Why do we say this is wrong? And it's like, okay, well, are we talking about from a religious stance? Are we talking from a cultural stance? Are we talking about from a societal stance with it, right? And in what you brought up there with it, it's like, okay, yeah, you have that choice. We see plenty of people who live that type of life. Just go out, do the thing, everything like that with it. And to ask, and that's where it goes in that next level of, asking the questions where I say, seek to understand. For me, it's like if I understand you a little bit more and get there with it, let's see what we can find out with it. Why are you making that choice? You know, are you really understanding of what those repercussions are, of what those dangers are? I've had some long conversations with my kids where they say, well, I have a friend who's doing this. And, I want them to think critically about it and say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think is this the best idea in what they're doing? How do you think this situation came to be that they're in right now? You know, I told my kids, learn from your mistakes, but true wisdom is learning from the mistakes of others. And, to do that. And then, sometimes I say, hey, I'll reference other teachings. I'll say, hey, in the Christian faith, they talk about this in this manner with it, you know, because it's like, okay, well, it pops up. Why is that? Human nature, right? It's not a new, what you think you're doing that is new is not new. It's been done before, and there's somebody has written something about it, and it might be the message you want to hear, and it might be the message you don't want to hear, but you got to figure it out, you know, and that's what a lot of people are trying to do is just figure it out. So it's
Man, we got to do a part two, man. We got to do a part two. There's some because because I want to get more specific, and we don't have time tonight.
yeah,
But
yeah, 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 yeah.
there are more specific things that I want to just dive into just based off what you said. But thank you for that, and and yeah, that was good. I only got a few more for you tonight, if you're
Go
okay
ahead.
with
Yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
So I'm just going to ask you straight up, what does Christianity get wrong, and why are you not a Christian? And I guess that's going to more or less answer the question. But what does Christianity get wrong that makes you not
What
want to be
does
a Christian?
what does Christianity get wrong?
Yes.
Um, what I will say that Christianity gets wrong isn't so much in the better part of the teachings because when you look at it, you have Old Testament, New Testament, right? And then you have books that have been removed from there with it.
Yeah, we can talk
Like
about that in part two if you want.
yeah, yeah, that's all there with it, those
Yeah.
things, right? Things like that 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 make me that have given me questions about it, right? And just the fact that in general, there's, in certain depending upon which subsection of Christianity we talk about with it, it's done so differently, right? And there's things where it's like, okay, hey, we're doing this because this is how we treat this and this is our belief structure. But then it's like the argument has always been we're the true version. We're the version. We're the version. We're the version. And those guys say, well, we're the version, right? And it's always the argument of which one it's been. And in many cases, even though it's like we both love Christ, we both worship Christ, we're going to go to battle against each other for it, you know? And when you cross that line with it, that takes away a lot of that with it. So it's probably more human based that I say that gets it wrong. Okay.
Hmm.
And that's why I strip it down to more of the basic end with it, right? Because if we say, hey, what is right in Christianity, you know, and you know, and in a lot of the other religions, they tell a lot of the same stories. they give a lot of the same guidance with it, right? You know, in Christ, this is the this is the this is the human connection to the all powerful, right? Comes comes to earth to teach us, to save us, to guide us in a better direction, right? And let us know that there's more than what we might think, right? And change the way some of the things are with it, because it is not what we feel is the right way, right? Then there's the death that occurs, and then there's a resurrection, right? To remind us that there is life beyond. Yes, you die on this plane, but there is more life beyond here. There's nothing, it's not empty for it, and it moves on with it. So Christian, and that is present in all of those religions, right? And the idea of the resurrection goes beyond Christianity. And we see that there. So it's like, okay, well, there's a commonality there with it. But for what it gets wrong, why I won't say I'm a dedicated Christian, it's been the more human with it. Humans mess stuff up. We muck things up with it, you know? And not everybody, understand, not everybody. Like I said, I've had those who are like, yeah, you are not a Christian. And I've had those who are like, yeah, I'm a Christian. And they come with it with humility, and they come in and they say, "Hey, if you ever want to explore this, the door is open. I'm extending you the invitation." Right? Yeah, the hand is there whenever you want to come down the line and and really, and learn this more. Great. You know, I'm trying those who I say are walking the path. They don't just say they worship Christ. They're by action trying to walk the path. They're trying to be better people. They're trying to be those of guidance. They're trying to be the ones of light. So yeah, human factor. Human factor is the biggest answer. So
Thank you for that, man. Thank
yeah,
you. I just want to, we can wrap up in a few, but I want to respond to that and then maybe get your thoughts, and then
yeah,
we could stop for part one.
yeah.
Um, so
I didn't
you
expect a
said
part
something,
two.
say that again.
I said I wasn't expecting a part two.
Well, let's make it okay, okay, okay. Well, if you agree, if we
Oh
both
no, no,
agree,
no. I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing.
yeah,
I'm just a little surprised. I'm just a little surprised. It's
yeah,
okay.
man, because I think there may be some things that we can touch in more, I guess, in more depth.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely. But
if
yeah,
if if, if you agree, but yeah, so yeah, you said, you know, Christianity broadly, that you got this group over here that believes this is the right way to practice Christianity, and this group says, no, this is the way. We're the people, or they are not them. You got all that going on broadly speaking with Christianity, and just to be honest, that is one of the best, I guess, if you're making an argument against Christianity, it's probably one of the best ways to poke holes at Christianity is that what you just said, because you're right. You're absolutely right. There are, thousands of, denominations out there, and all these different teachings going all over the place, all of them claiming to follow the Bible. You know what I mean? But yet, why are all these people disagreeing? Like, what is this? And that made me pause for a while. Like, it made me think, like, because I would have conversations like this with hardcore atheists, and they'll
yeah,
just be like, "Why is this?" And that that was a tough question for me to deal with. But this is the reason. That's one of the reasons why I'm Orthodox. So we spoke a little bit before we um, started recording, and I let you know that I made the distinction that I don't identify as a Christian broadly speaking. When I say I'm a Christian, I am a specific thing here.
yeah,
And just to real quickly go into more depth in that, so you know, yeah, a lot of churches, a lot of people make different opposing claims. right? You're making this whole time you've been giving your, I guess, epistemic moral reasons to what you believe in, why you believe it. But let's
Yeah.
just say someone out there hears this conversation and says, I disagree with what Ray is saying on that podcast with Dad. I disagree with him.
Yeah.
And let's just say someone else says they disagree, blah, blah. So you got a bunch of people disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
That in and of itself doesn't mean that you're wrong. Just because people disagree with the proposition or this or that, that doesn't mean anything is right or wrong ultimately. It's just the only thing that proves is that people disagree ultimately. So I guess what
Yeah.
I'm saying
Yeah.
here is that just because people disagree with something or groups of people disagree on a thing, that's not the ultimate deciding factor of what's true and what's false. I think the
Hmm.
ultimate thing that shows is that, yeah, people disagree, but that doesn't mean that I'm wrong or I'm right, and it doesn't mean that they're wrong and they're right. I guess what I'm saying is that it doesn't prove if something's true or false because people disagree. That's all
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to say. But just to go on a little further, the reason why I'm Orthodox is because of there is like continuity throughout history. So you talk about the Bible, and you talked about earlier about people taking books out of the Bible and stuff like that. I asked all these questions, but and I'm not trying to give you a history lesson, but
Yeah.
the church in history, which is the Orthodox Church in history, and we're the church that put the Bible together. So we had councils throughout history that put the what we call the Bible today together.
Yes.
So so and that can we can go in more depth in that later. But so in our view, we kept the traditions of the church, we kept the traditions of Christ from the beginning until now. You got these groups that come out later that take the Bible. The Bible was a tool that we put together. The Bible is our tool for the church in history. You get groups outside of that who take the Bible outside of the context of what it was made for, and then they interpret it how they want. That's why we got 1,000 different denominations here, because people are taking the Bible outside of what it was meant for through the church, and they just make up whatever they want. That's why we have a bunch of different 1,000 denominations, because everyone is just grabbing the Bible and taking it out and making it what they believe instead of what it was being used for, what it was made for, which is within the church. I just wanted to put that out there, I guess, to you to make it say, one, I wanted to just say that, yeah, people disagree, but ultimately, I don't think that is a barometer for what is true and what's false. And then two, I'm I'm a Pacific part of a Christian group that I think has historical, tangible, not just something that is faith, all just mystical faith based thing. It's like a historical thing that we can verify in history, not just
Hmm.
whatever. But yeah, just wanted. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, but I just wanted to just make that clear.
Yeah, no, it's understandable with it, and I agree. I agree that we don't have to the disagreement doesn't make one side wrong and the other side, you know, you know, one's correct, one's incorrect with it.
Gotcha.
Um, I think that though, unfortunately, that disagreement, as time has gone on, has been unfortunately has made people create rifts between each other, you know, and like for you and I in this situation, you know, I don't think any less of you, you know, and I'm not gonna, shoot down your faith or anything like that with it because that's not what that's for. I may not have an absolute agreement with where you're at with it, but what I look at is, is are you again, where are you operating from? And it's like, okay, I'm operating from this position and this perspective, and I can respect it, right? I don't have to agree with it, but I can respect it, you know? And if I really want to expand my knowledge, right? It's to, yeah, it's to hear it and give it some thought, not just say, "Oh, you're wrong." It's to really just take it in and say, "Okay, well, what gives you that perspective? Where are you coming from with that? Would you share it with me?" And, and I hope it's the same way for you, you know? It's me just presenting my perspective for it. And, what else do we do? Can we still operate on the right side of things? Can we still operate in the positive? You know? If worse comes to worse with it, you gave me a holler one time and said, "Hey, we're looking at doing this thing." Great, give me a holler. Let me know when. If you need
Yeah.
me. I'm here available. Right. And, even though, I don't claim myself to be a Christian with it, my biggest thing is I don't like to see people suffer. I just don't like to see people suffer, you know? And I don't care where you come, I don't really care too much where you come from after that with it. If it's like, okay, well, we're Christian. Okay, cool, cool. Are you doing right by people? Yeah. Okay, great. I can handle that. Great. We're operating underneath some of the same tenets. We just might have a different name for them.
Hey, man, thanks a lot.
I appreciate it, man. Thank
This
you.
is the longest podcast I think I ever done. I think at the max it was maybe a little over an hour, but I think we went for almost 2 or maybe 2 hours,
Oh my
over 2 hours.
gosh.
We went
Oh
over
my,
2 hours,
yeah.
which is great, man. I think we carried the conversation well the whole time and discussed ideas and went back and forth. And I really appreciate you just talking, man, and getting to know you at a deeper level, and you getting to know me, how we think, and it
Yeah.
was awesome. Thank you. Um, any last question for me before we disconnect this evening?
Mm. I think I already hit it. The biggest one was what was prompting it, right? That whole question of what was prompting you to start that discussion. Um, because I've seen it, again, just those who want to understand, and those who just want to argue with it. And, for you, I feel for me, this was an experience of understanding. I want to understand where you're coming from, right? And where that's at with it. And let me share my perspective with it. This is good dialogue to me, you know? There's respect there, there's love there with it. That's the biggest thing, And I think overall, you know, humans would be better if they could do this more often with that respect, with that love there with it, and say, you know what? Hey, I might not agree with everything that you're saying with it, but I know but I know the core of what you are. I know where your heart and your spirit is coming from with it, and where you're trying and where we're seeking to operate with it. And I can't hate that. We just go. So I
Thank you,
appreciate it,
man.
man. Thank you for the
I
invite. I
appreciate it
appreciate
too. I Yeah, and I think I was offline when we spoke earlier when I said the reason why, and it's just like you said. I simply just wanted to understand. I speak with people who believe what I believe all the time. You
it.
know what I mean? And I just wanted to, you know, have a conversation like this, and then put it out there on my YouTube channel because I need some content to put on my YouTube channel. But but I really just want to just have a friendly conversation with someone that I know. This is not just some random person on the internet, and just talk back and forth, which is exactly what we did. I hope I didn't. Sometimes I get passionate, and
No,
even in conversations, regular conversations, I get passionate and a little, a little out there. And I hope I didn't offend you or say anything that was unsettling or anything like that. I hope this was.
no, never, 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 never. You've never been that type of guy with it. No, we can be passionate. You can still be respectful and everything like that with it. It was all good, man. All good.
Awesome.
And I hope it was the same way. I hope it was the same for me.
Yeah.
Uh, the gosh, where was I at with that? The that capability to just go out and have that conversation for me, when it's talked about in Christianity to go out and find the others.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I was saying, go out and find the flock,
Mm-hmm.
bring them in, shelter them, and do everything like that. Instead of somebody, out yelling on the street saying, you know, you're all gonna die and this and that and doom and naysay with it. To me, this is more in alignment to it. The conversation of, hey, where are you at? Where do you find this with it? I think this is where it's like, hey, this is where the mission comes to have that conversation, you know,
Yeah, man.
because this
Yeah.
is so much more personal with it, non-confrontational, and it's like, hey, the door is open, you know, and I think that's where it should be. That's where it's like, no, that feels, as we say, that feels Christianly,
That's
right?
Christian.
That feels Christianly, right? I'm here to guide. I'm here to bring light. If you want it, here it is, you know? So, and it's a great thing, man. So you're doing good. You're doing good.
Thank you, brother. I love you, man.
Mhm.
Real quick, because this is going to be on the line, and this could be a good promotion for you. Can you tell people how they could get in contact with you? Maybe someone wants to train jujitsu for the first time. How can
Oh
they
yeah,
get in
yeah.
contact and see you?
Oh yeah. Best way, you can either go to the website, www.gjj hyphen coloradosprings.com. That'll take you to the website for our Colorado Springs location, or GJJ dash Canyon City, right? Without the tilde over the N, because you can't do that on the website on the web address.
Yeah.
And that takes you to our site for my south location down in Canyon City, Colorado. Otherwise, you can always reach out to us on phone 719-900-8975. That's a business phone. All good to go with it. That's probably the easiest. 10-day trials at both locations. Always available with it. No obligations. Come in, learn a little bit of stuff, have some fun, meet nice people. It's great.
Awesome. And I'll put all that in the description below. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ray. If you like this, please give me a like. Consider subscribing. Anything that you disagree or agree with either me or Ray, or whatever. Maybe you agree with everything, maybe you don't. Whatever. Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Ray, man, I love you, bro. Thank you for this couple
Love you too,
hours. I
man.
had a great time. And tell your wife and your kids I said hello. And hopefully we get to do this again soon. But
I
thank you.
hope so. Thank you. Thank you. Want to see you on the mat soon.
Yeah, that'd be great. I have to come see you, man. I want to talk to you a little bit more. I'm about to cut off the recording real quick.
Yep, yep. Cool.